The city lights blurred like a watercolor painting through my teary eyes, sparkling like little stars as I soaked in the view. I was just a girl then. A ghost haunting the corners of a world that had forgotten me. My parents, my anchors, were gone. Swept away by a sudden tide of fate, leaving me adrift in a cold and forgiving ocean. The inheritance wasn't just memories, it was a mountain of debt that shadowed my every step. Friends and family, once a warm embrace, became distant echoes, their doors closed, one by one, leaving me standing alone on the pavement, the silence screaming louder than any rejection. Survival became my only language. Hunger is a cruel teacher, and the city's underbelly offered its own twisted curriculum. Each night was a transaction, a piece of my soul bartered for a roof over my head, for a meal that tasted like ash in my mouth. I built walls around my heart, brick by painful brick, convinced that love and warmth were luxuries I could no longer afford. My reflection in the grimy windows became a stranger, her eyes holding a story I was desperate to forget. I was just a shadow, moving through a world that only saw what it wanted to take. Then, one rainy evening, he walked in. Not to my world, but to the small, run-down coffee shop where I'd sometimes sit, trying to feel normal for just a few minutes. He didn't see the ghost, he saw me. His name was Alex, and his eyes held no judgment, only a gentle curiosity. He offered me his umbrella, a simple act of kindness that felt like a downpour of grace on my parched spirit. We talked for hours, not about my past, but about dreams, about books, about the silly shapes we saw in the clouds. For the first time in years, I laughed. A real, genuine laugh that came from a place I thought had long since crumbled to dust. Our coffee shop meetings became a ritual, a sacred space where I could shed my armor. Alex was a landscape artist, his hands creating beauty from blank canvases, and with every conversation, he was painting colors back into my monochrome life. He saw a light in me I thought had been extinguished forever. He saw strength in my survival, not shame. Love, quiet and steady, began to seep through the cracks in my walls, like ivy reaching for the sun. He would hold my hand, and a warmth would spread through me that no amount of money ever could. The day he told me he loved me, the world stopped spinning. It was a whisper, filled with so much certainty that it shattered the last of my defenses. And in that moment, I knew I couldn't go back. I couldn't live a double life. How could I lie in his arms at night, knowing where I'd been just hours before? The thought was a physical pain, a betrayal not just to him, but to the woman he was helping me become. The decision was instantaneous and terrifying. I was done. I would leave that life behind, no matter the cost. But walking away from the only survival I knew was like learning to walk again. The money stopped. The rent loomed, a monster at the door. Fear, a cold and familiar companion, tried to wrap its fingers around my throat. How could I build a future with Alex, or real future with a home and a family, when I was starting from less than zero? The shame of my past clung to me, whispering that I wasn't worthy of this new life, that I would only drag him down. I looked at him, so full of hope and love, and a part of me wanted to run, to protect him from my own wreckage. One evening, unable to bear the weight of my secrets any longer, I told him everything. The whole, ugly, painful story. I braced for the disgust, the pity, the inevitable goodbye, but he just listened, his gaze unwavering. When I finished, tears streaming down my face, he simply pulled me closer. He told me that my past was a part of my story, a testament to my strength. But it didn't define my future. He said, "We'll face this together. You don't have to carry this alone anymore." His words were the foundation I needed. Starting over was the hardest thing I've ever done. I took on odd jobs, cleaning, waitressing. Anything to earn an honest dollar. It was grueling, humble work. But every cent felt like a victory. Alex was my rock, cheering me on, making dinner when I was too exhausted to move, reminding me of my worth when I started to doubt. We lived simply, finding joy not in things, but in each other. We'd have picnics in the park with sandwiches and a thermos of tea. And it felt richer than any fancy dinner I'd ever been bought. Slowly, painfully, I was building a new life, a real life, one honest day at a time. Years have passed. Our apartment is small, but it's filled with laughter and the smell of Alex's paint. My past is no longer a ghost that haunts me, but a scar that reminds me of how far I've come. Starting a family is still a daunting thought, a new chapter we're approaching with care and hope. But when I look at Alex, and I see the love reflected in his eyes, I know that we can build any future we want together. My journey wasn't easy, but it taught me that you are not defined by your darkest moments. True wealth isn't what you have, but who you have to hold your hand through the storm. Love, real love, doesn't erase the past, but it gives you the courage to build a beautiful future. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you in any way, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel to not miss out on amazing stories like this. Your support means the world. Remember, no matter how dark it gets, there is always a path toward the light.